Jane Goodall was born on April 3rd, 1934, in London, England. From the very beginning, she was different from most children. While other children played with dolls, Jane preferred to observe animals and imagine their lives. One of her earliest memories was receiving a stuffed toy chimpanzee from her father. She named it Jubilee, after a famous chimpanzee born at the London Zoo. While some people thought the toy looked scary, Jane loved it deeply and carried it everywhere. Her mother, Van, noticed Jane's special interest in animals and encouraged her curiosity. One famous story from Jane's childhood happened when she was about 4 years old. She wanted to know how a chicken laid an egg. Instead of asking someone, she decided to find out for herself. Jane quietly hid inside the chicken coop and waited for hours. Finally, she saw a hen settle into a nesting box and lay an egg. Excited, she ran back to her family to share her discovery. Her mother was not angry at her disappearance, but instead praised her patience and determination. This moment taught Jane that careful observation could lead to amazing discoveries. As Jane grew older, she spent hours reading books about animals and wild places. Her favorite book was The Story of Dr. Dolittle, about a man who could talk to animals. She also loved Tarzan of the Apes and imagined herself living in the jungle. Jane even joked that Tarzan had married the wrong Jane. By the time she was a teenager, Jane dreamed of traveling to Africa to study wild animals. But her family was not wealthy, and such a dream seemed impossible. Still, Jane never gave up on her dream, holding on to the belief that she would one day live among animals. In 1957, Jane received an invitation from a school friend to visit her family's farm in Kenya. It was the opportunity she had been dreaming about for years. She worked as a waitress and saved enough money for a ticket to Africa. When she arrived in Kenya, the vast landscapes, exotic animals, and warm climate captivated her. Jane soon met Dr. Louis Leakey, a famous archaeologist and paleontologist. Leakey was impressed by Jane's knowledge of animals and her patience in observing them. Dr. Louis Leakey believed that studying chimpanzees could help us understand early human behavior. Leakey offered Jane a job as his assistant at the Corindon Museum in Nairobi. After working together, Leakey decided Jane should study wild chimpanzees in Gamstream, Tanzania. This was a bold decision because Jane had no formal scientific training, but Leakey believed her open mind and determination were more important than a degree. In July 1960, Jane arrived in Gam with her mother, who came along to ensure her safety. They set up camp near the forest and began the long process of earning the chimpanzee's trust. At first, the chimpanzees ran away whenever Jane appeared, but she was patient, spending hours quietly watching from a distance. Gradually, the chimpanzees began to accept her presence. One male, whom she named David Graybeard, was the first to approach her. David showed Jane that chimpanzees could use tools, such as sticks, to fish termites from their mounds. This discovery shocked the scientific community, as tool use was once thought to be unique to humans. Jane's observations began to change the way scientists understood animal intelligence. By the mid-1960s, Jane Goodall's work at Gam began to attract worldwide attention. Photos of her sitting quietly among chimpanzees with a notebook in hand seemed almost magical. National Geographic published her findings, and film crews arrived to document her research. To the public, she became known as the woman who lived with the apes. Despite the fame, Jane remained focused on her research and the chimpanzees themselves. She wanted people to see chimpanzees as individuals with emotions and personalities. In 1964, Jane married Hugo van Laak, a Dutch wildlife photographer. Together, they raised a son and worked to raise awareness about wildlife conservation. Jane discovered that chimpanzees were capable of both kindness and violence. She observed territorial battles and even infanticide among them. These findings changed how scientists viewed animal behavior. By the 1980s, Jane noticed the forests around Goodall were shrinking due to human activity. She realized that protecting chimpanzees required saving their habitat. Jane left the forest and began traveling globally to speak about conservation. In 1977, she founded the Jane Goodall Institute to support research and conservation. She also started Roots and Shoots in 1991, a youth program inspiring environmental care. Jane's speeches inspired millions worldwide, encouraging people to make a difference. She received many awards, but remained humble and continued simple living. Even in later years, Jane returned to Goodall to visit chimpanzees she had known. Her life showed the power of curiosity, patience, and compassion. Jane Goodall remains a symbol of hope for wildlife and the planet. Curiosity fuels discovery, as asking questions and observing carefully can lead to groundbreaking knowledge. Patience builds trust, and long-term dedication can open doors to understanding both animals and people. Compassion creates change, as caring deeply for other beings inspires action to protect them. Perseverance overcomes obstacles, showing that even big dreams are possible with determination despite challenges. One person can spark global impact, proving that individual actions can inspire millions to protect the planet. If stories with mystery, pain, and beauty speak to your soul, and you're curious about the world behind the art, then you're in the right place. There's more to come, more to feel. Subscribe now and join the story.